Okay, so I did want to get a live unboxing. I actually haven't opened this. I just cut it out of the main shipping box because mostly I'm doing this from my phone, so it doesn't have quite the vantage point my regular camera does normally. So what's gonna happen is essentially what I'll do is I will open this box because it's a lot smaller from the phone camera, and you guys can see this from my phone because it just vibrated as I'm getting notifications. So I should probably um, set it to don't disturb. I probably should have done that before this whole thing started. So you know what? Maybe I won't do that. But it looks like there's already a few of you guys in here, 12 and counting. So what I will go ahead and do is let's just get this thing started. So to catch you guys up, I couldn't do the shipping container unboxing because that box is actually pretty huge. So kudos to Hamilton for packing it extra well. But let's do this. Okay, so you're not getting the commemorative Tesseract box. It's looks like a more standard affair here. Uh, Little 2-year warranty, a little card. Looks like standard affair there, so that's cool. I bought this directly from Hamilton, so all of the standard goodies are going to apply there. Um, All right. Hey, Rob, welcome. Thanks for joining. And Junior Johnson. I feel like there's a lot of Johnsons that come onto my channel. I don't know if they're all related, or maybe it's just maybe it is a family affair. Who knows? If I do have the Johnson support, then I appreciate it. But check that out. Pretty nice little, this looks like real wood. So that's pretty cool. Getting legit hinges here. So that is definitely, oh, well, it looks like maybe a little bit of laminate there. So who knows? Maybe particle underneath. All right. So already I can see that this, in terms of size wise, is much smaller than the 42. I'm going to go ahead and peel this off for all you guys so you can enjoy that. Oh, yes. Share in that moment with me. What I'll do is now give it a quick wipe. I know some of you are wondering, hey, does this watch have anti-reflective coating? Supposedly, yes. I will say on the Hamilton website, it does say anti-reflective treatment. Yes. So it does have it. I'll say from this angle, it doesn't look like it's the strongest AR coating. But I will say, hey, kudos to them, double dome. So there's not a lot of distortion, if any, at a harsh angle. That means it's domed on the top and underneath. Nice and thin. Also, from what I've been reading, the case isn't just them using the Khaki 38 millimeter automatic case because it actually has slightly shorter lug to lug. I've seen somebody actually did some side by side where they took the bracelet that fits on the standard Khaki field and of the same, the 38 millimeter, and it actually didn't fit. So this shorter lug to lug, hey Rob, yeah, hopefully it does work. I think that was for me, kind of icing on the cake. I mean, I always was a fan of the Murph watch, even though I think there was actually another iteration before it was really the Murph. I mean, this wasn't some super original design. Let me give it another quick wipe here. Um, they actually took pretty heavy inspiration in terms of the handset and the dial from an existing watch and just put it in the larger case. And I suspect that some of them wanting to put it in the 42 millimeter case was due to the fact that it was a screen. It was made for a movie, so they wanted it to, be very legible and be very large. Also, Matthew McConaughey's watch, as he was playing the dad, the watch he had was also a 42. So they would basically they would look very similar in size next to each other. Versus I think the aesthetic, for me definitely looks a bit more old school there, and I'm digging it. So actually we can peel this off too. So that'll be fun for you guys. Hey, what's up, man? Argentina, very cool. I think the quality of the video probably isn't great because it is live streaming from my phone, and I'm not sure if I even have Wi-Fi turned on. I don't do too many of these live streams. I'm hoping that it's at least 720. but as long as it's flowing good and it's not choppy, which I had happen one time. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. Um, as long as it's smooth and you guys can hear me, I think that's cool. As you guys can see, it does have that that cool Hamilton, I think the H10 caliber, which is essentially like a Powermatic 80, which does mean that it does have a slightly slower beat rate than your typical ETA that this is based on, but it does have that extended power reserve. Another one of the drawbacks is, as you can see, there's really no room for manual adjustment there in terms of if you were trying to regulate this inside of your living room at home on your tabletop, which I have done for standard ETAs and Seiko movements using just their little, screw type of adjuster. So we'll see. Although typically right out of the box, these are going to keep really good time. So I don't know what time it is right now, but let me give it a few winds. Feels good. Feels like any other, whether it's from Tissot or Certina or Mito, or even Longines in terms of these ETA-based calibers with the extended power reserves. And you know what? It's funny that people kind of get on Seiko so much for using lower beat movements when, the whole Swatch group pretty much went that direction. And then also even to include Omega. I mean, they're not all the way down to a 3 hertz, but they are at a 3.5 hertz sweep typically. So we'll just set it to 1010 so you guys can get a handsome look. Actually, let's put it a little bit before that so I can ramble on for a little bit longer here until it gives you that money shot. But as you guys can see, very nice. I like the curvature on the lugs. I like the signed crown. Let me actually give that a quick little dust off there. Very nice. The strap does have some nice padding here. You can see up in the upper areas, giving it a little bit more structure, and then it does taper down. I will say this is pretty stiff. It does have that crocodile print. And then, typically this is going to be the, yes, you're right, absolutely. Lower beat rate means less wear and tear. I just find it funny that, people kind of always criticize Seiko for not giving us more high beats. But then at the same time, everybody really praises the Swatch group for going lower beat. So I think that's always fun. No, there isn't the Eureka on the second stand. This is more movie accurate in terms of the aesthetic, not the size. In the movie, it actually didn't have that on there. It was larger. I think mostly because of it being a movie prop. Also, they had to have the mechanism underneath to actually make it do the Morse code. But yeah, I mean, I think that's something that's a bit of a point of contention. Some people found the that Morse code on the second stand to be quite charming. I think they kind of made the right decision with this one. It makes it a nice point of differentiation. If you have the 42 feels more like if you think of a Bond movie watch, right? Very commemorative. It really plays from that perspective. And here, I mean, if you didn't know that this was the Murph watch, you could think that this is just a really nice looking Hamilton. And I will say 20 millimeter lug width, let's do it. Yeah, that's awesome. Signed clasp here, multi-finish. Yes, it is a good amount of more expensive than your typical Khaki Field. So I think that's its biggest competitor. That and I think the Alpinist, especially you think Cathedral Hands, or if you're a big Cathedral Hand buff, then something like let's say the Oris Big Crown Pointer Date. Also, I think would be a really good comparable if you're just looking for that aesthetic, full numerals all the way around with Cathedral handset. The lug to lug I want to say is 44.4. I don't have my calipers on me, but I'll definitely cover that in the full review. I just wanted to share with you guys a quick little unboxing, just so you guys know that it's coming. And yes, I agree, but I think maybe they'll make double the money because they sold, I'm sure, a lot of those 42s. It's one of their best selling models. And you guys also have to remember, even though everyone watching this, very few of you guys are probably big cinema buffs. Most of you are watch fans, and honestly, enthusiasts probably only account for something like 10 to 15% of the general buying market. Most people who buy watches just buy them for the way that they look, and for the brand name. So, a lot of those things in terms of sizing, it's really the market preference. And yeah, for a long time, people were enjoying larger sizes. Now the market is seeing smaller sizes become more popular again, so that's great. Even for me with a I'd say larger than average 7.5 inch wrist. I think this is going to look really cool. Check that out. I think it's the right size for this type of watch, right? Like you don't need a watch that has a fixed bezel, full numerals, and everything to really be very large. Um, what? Won't watch the movie? Rob, what? That movie's so good. It's extremely good. I watched it over the weekend again just to kind of get re-hyped for this watch so I could kind of remember what a big deal it was. I think that's the really cool thing is this movie, for this watch, it was really integrated. It was part of the storyline, right? I don't want to spoil the movie for those of you that haven't seen it. But this watch was more than just kind of background dressing. It was really at the forefront and it stole some scenes, which I thought was really, really cool. It is a really fantastic movie, especially as a dad. You watch it, quite emotional. I mean, obviously, there's tons of memes of like Matthew McConaughey crying, um, which are hilarious. But also, the movie was very powerful and scientifically pretty sound from what I hear. Oh, yeah, the music as well. Good point, Stefan. The music, the score, it was really epic. I mean, typical Nolan affair. It was just really, really well done. I mean, I've been a Christopher Nolan fan going all the way back to Memento. Um, and yeah, I've always had my eye on this watch. And even when it first came out, I think everybody was so excited to kind of figure out what reference it was. Then they found out it was made just for the movie. And then you kind of get let down and excuse me, and then you kind of search for the closest thing that they had, and there is one that's very similar to the 42. It just has like a knurled bezel and a knurled and with a knurled crown. I forget the reference or anything like that. But we won't keep this going too much longer. It's already been 12 minutes. But yeah, we'll definitely stay tuned for the full review. I'm glad to share this with you guys. And again, for those of you that did have some concerns, this isn't the exact, I'm not saying for certain that the Hamilton Khaki Automatic 38 Field Watch won't use this case in the future. They could always switch it over eventually, but as far as I know, it is actually a different case, noticeably because of the lug to lug difference and the slightly reformed lug shape. Um, Also, it does have anti-reflective treatment, although, in these circumstances, we'll see how it looks under my normal camera and lighting. If it does, better or worse, we'll see. But those are kind of the main differences. Also, 20 millimeter lugs. I think some places have it listed as 18, but really it's 18 at the buckle. So I think some machine learning, that a lot of those publications that are out there will actually I almost have like an algorithm of putting out articles. So I read this as 18 millimeters, and it actually put me off for a day or two until I found that it was actually 20 millimeter lug width. So perfect. It's going to be great to swap things out and actually, like the other Khaki Field 38, hopefully there are some metal bracelets that will also be swappable because it's a very common shape there, although the lugs are slightly shorter. So we'll see if that opens up or closes doors in terms of it being compatible with the bracelets of, like, let's say the Zen 556 or the Seiko Alpinist or some of those fitted end straps that are made for Rolexes, which have seem to be very universal, depending on the if you can get within that sweet spot of size and thickness. So with that said, thanks guys so much. Really appreciate it, and I will try to figure out, since I haven't done too many of these lives, how to actually end it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, more like you're exactly right. It would be more like that, like A11 style. So yeah, thanks you guys for joining me. I appreciate the views. If you haven't already checked out my channel, definitely check it out. Subscribe for updates so that you guys can actually see the full review. You guys know I go into quite a bit of detail. Normally it's like a 20-minute affair. Less about me and my face and more about the watches and, my thoughts about them in the metal. So with that said, thanks a lot, guys. And I appreciate it. Stay tuned for the full review.